Welcome for the second session of this Gamma Day, Time and Morality, the Experimental Zone. I'm glad to see that the rain has come, the universal water, to complement our tears. Whenever the truth comes, that's when we feel our tears. In the morning, we had the context for the time and prophecy, and the time of prophecy, the view from Velatropa, and we heard how the birth of Telechthenon occurred. Now we will move this afternoon into a full discussion of the tool, the Telechthenon of Valum Votan, and how to apply it in our learning the synchronic order.
Thank you. We'll do that more or less. There's a few... She's correct, we will do that. But I had a few other things. I had one note this is a footnote to yesterday. Yesterday we were at the board and we made a list of qualities of third dimensional time and qualities of fourth dimensional time, and we made the statement that the third dimensional time creates the flatland. Okay, the third dimensional time is linear and ultimately creates a flatland, and we said that the creation of the flatland is a function of the instruments of measurement that we use, and the instruments of measurement of time deform the mind so that the mind creates a world that is flat and entropic. Well, this morning, some of you probably saw this, there's a story on the front page of the Oregonian, images make discovery clear, universe is flat. It is a question that plagued Einstein and every astrophysicist in his wake. What is the shape of our universe? Is it curved like the top of a ball? Does it open upward like a potato chip? Or is it flat? The question has been their images have provided conclusive evidence that the universe is nearly flat. Okay? As I said yesterday, that we create flatland. We have a flat universe, in case you ever wondered whether a pancake was ever going to fall on your head. Well, a pancake just fell on your head because the universe is very flat. That reminds me, this was discovered by sending balloons up over Antarctica. The Gregorian calendar makes you irrational. This is I've never made a statement and have it come true so quickly. I must be a nice guy, huh? Pat myself on the back for figuring that out. But that also, yeah, with potato chips, it means God's going to crunch us, The universe was made by a Frito-Lay factory. Science is really off the wall. This also, why should you believe this, of course? And it also reminds me of a statement that was very, very stuck in my head all my life regarding, that was made by some anonymous person in the 17th century when the telescope was first invented and when the microscope was first invented. And the statement still applies today, and I think applies very much to this discovery that the universe is flat. Of what use are lens and light to those who lack in mind and sight? Of what use are lens and light to those who lack in mind and sight? It doesn't do any good to look through a telescope if you've never sat in meditation and looked at your mind. And like I said, the definitions of time, of calendar, the instruments of time that are used, that have deformed our mind, completely separate time from consciousness. So only from a mind that has separated itself from its own consciousness, and living in a time that takes no account that there is even such a phenomenon as consciousness, could the universe appear flat? It's very true. Okay, well, enough of that. Okay, daily paper. I'd like to turn to a more sublime vein, and before we actually turn to the actual description of the telectonon, this morning we were presenting basically how the telectonon came about. I had absolutely no idea that it would be such an emotional experience for me to present this to you. As I said, every time that I present this, there's some emotional quality that comes up, and it's very indescribable experience to have gone through the experience that I went through to make the discovery of the telectonon prophecy, to realize what it was. I often, over the last 7 years, would sometimes wake up in the morning or in the middle of the night, and I would say, who am I? What has happened to me? Where am I? And then I would remember the telectonon prophecy, and I'd say, no, this is all true. The Valum Votan, the tomb, Palenque, that's no lie. You can go see it. I didn't invent this. This is all there in Palenque. This is all true. This was all an actual, you can go down and see where that is. It's a historical fact. Now you can't see it. The tomb is closed and has been closed for some time. But it's there, and I'd say, no, this is true. This is grounded in something that's actually real. This is a historical fact. This isn't something that was drummed up. And so the more I persisted with this path and with this truth, the deeper everything became. Okay, as I said, the telectonon is very vast. So far we have different levels of the telectonon that have manifested. The telectonon, the game of prophecy, the telectonon of Valum Votan, the telectonon of the 20 tablets of the law of time, the telectonon of the 7777 revelation are all aspects of the telectonon. But I know that the telectonon is vast, and these are just little points that have come down and precipitated in a manifest form for this time, so that we can understand what it means to be in the synchronic order. Everything about the telectonon is based on the 28-day cycle. That's the interesting part of it. And within the 28-day cycle, everything is based on the existence of what is called the cube of the law, which occurs and is constructed in time between the 7th and the 22nd days of every 28-day cycle. There's much of the telectonon that was written that has never been published, and I wanted to read a few of the first pieces of writing that came through when the telectonon started to happen. As I said, on that day, kin 144, and then soon after that I began writing a lot of notes. And so the first set of notes, this is the very first that I wrote about the telectonon, and this is entitled The Auto Commentary of the Finder, Spectral Monkey, on Telectonon of Valum Votan, the Book of the Seven Generations, concerning the war and the taming of the heavens and opportunity for planet Earth. And the telectonon is defined: tele, from a distance, communication; ketonic, spirits or deities dwelling within or under the earth, hence earth spirit speaking tube. Telectonon. Telectonon, distant, far traveling code of information received from spirits and deities dwelling within the earth. Telectonon is distant because its code was left in a former time. It is far traveling because it is transmitted from far off stellar points through Earth's core, where the deities and spirit guardians hold it until it is time to be released. Thence it travels far from Earth's core to the sensory intelligence of the biosphere. Telektonon also refers to a type of coded text left to one intelligence to be found at a later distant time at appropriate moment by another intelligence. In Tibetan, these types of texts are referred to as terma, or hidden teachings, and to the finders of such texts as terton, hidden text finders. Telektonon is, like terma, is a prophetic text, a prophecy for the moment of its finding. The Telektonon of Pakal Votan, Book of the Seven Generations, is precisely such a text, a prophetic code of instruction for this time, a prophecy of the earth and its biosphere and of the victory that is never ending. Telektonon is prophecy from within the earth. A prophet who functions as, Telektonon is prophecy from within the earth, and the term for prophet of the earth is also Telektonon. A prophet who functions as a Telektonon, a voice of the earth, a voice of the earth's indwelling spirits, can be a telektonic medium for other prophets and hidden finders by virtue of reposing the consciousness within the center of the earth among the guardians, spirits, and deities. Those were the very, very, very first statements that I made regarding the prophecy that I was decoding. And that's very important, that the statement about a prophet who functions as a telektonon, a voice for other prophets and hidden finders, by virtue of reposing the consciousness within the center of the earth among the guardians, spirits, and deities. Now this is something which now is something we can all do. We can all repose our consciousness within the center of the earth, and when we get to the red cosmic skywalker, we are all going to go in the Telektonon tunnel, and we're all going to repose our consciousness in the center of the earth. Another part, another little section here. For my little part, I wrote Telektonon of Pakal Votan, Book of the Seven Generations. The Mayan apocalypse is the Telektonon revelation of the 13 Baktuns of history, the 5,126-year great cycle of history as the apocalypse of the 3 Babylons, and of the 28-day Telektonon moon calendar as the complete book of revelations of St. John of Patmos, the illumination of St. John. The 3 Babylons are: the first Babylon is the Babylon itself, the second Babylon is the Babylon of the Roman Empire, and the third Babylon is the Babylon of the Vatican. The 13 Baktun cycle and the Book of Revelations are the lovers' script. The pact to maintain their love while separated over the 5,100-year cycle of the 3 Babylons transcend the power of the 3 Babylons, Armageddon, and the vicious rule of the 3 lords of materialism that bring on the end of time, the revelation of the day of truth. The pact of Bolon Ik and Pakal Votan, the promise of the prophecy of the Telektonon, took place before the beginning of history and the first Babylon. That is, it occurred outside of time. Sanctified and anointed by the power of 13, the Telektonon love pact of Bolon Ik and Pakal Votan assured the prophetic success of St. John of Patmos, of Padmasambhava, of Mohammed, and of Quetzalcoatl, our Lord, one reed who came to close the first Christian millennium. The pact of Bolonic and Pakal Votan was simple: to remain true and loyal to their mission, redemption of Babylon planet and reunion at the appointed time, but no sooner. Thus, at the beginning of history, the beginning count of the 13 Baktuns of the Mayan Great Cycle, even before the priests of Babylon I had usurped time, Pakal Votan and Bolonic had cast their lover's spell upon the earth. Having cast their spell, Bolonic retired to her spirit tower on Uranus, position 28 of the Telektonon, the power of 28 days of the 13 moons. Pakal Votan at one time then descended into the earth to inaugurate the wave of 13 Baktuns, the cycles of time in which great Babylon was to unfold her drunken dynasties of war and money, the power over time during the first Baktun. Pakal Votan claimed the power of the seven, the mystic power of prophecy. This he did during the first Baktun for the 144,000 kin, the number of the Baktuns of the earth. In this way, Pakal Votan captured the vision of apocalypse, 13 Baktuns, 13 chapters of the book of Revelations, each Baktun a chapter. Thus, chapter 6, the revelation of the 7 stars, was already known to Pakal Votan's free will, and chapter 7, the description of the 144,000 falsely known as the 12 lost tribes of Israel, were already known to Pakal Votan as the 144,000 original kin of the first Baktun, the awakened sun dancers who preceded the false lords of Babylonian time. This again is from one of the early texts that was written, giving you some of the background of the Telektonon. This was all written when we were still in Hawaii in the first 4 weeks of the Telektonon prophecy. So that's very interesting. Then one final text, which is very key, which has a lot to do with the cube. Okay, on my birthday, on my 52nd birthday in 1991, when the spectral monkey returned on January 24th, or resonant moon 15, I had a very powerful vision of the interior of the cube, of the inner cube, how the cube was formed. And the cube was formed because of 3 planes. 3 planes. A plane of mind, which is a horizontal plane, a plane of spirit, which runs perpendicular to that horizontal plane in this way, and a plane of will that runs perpendicular in this way, so that those 3 planes meet at one center point. And I understood, I said, now that's a very powerful point. Those 3 planes extend equidistant from that central point, and they create then, to close them off, then you create the 6 sides of the cube. And this was revealed to me as the basis of the primal and the original creation of what is now called the flat universe. I didn't understand that. That was in 1991. I understood what that was, and I understood the cosmic principle of that cube, but I didn't understand where its place was until the Telektonon prophecy. And then when the Telektonon prophecy, when I began to decode that, then it became very clear to me the importance of the cube. So this is an early writing on the laws of time from the Telektonon, called The Laws of Time Originate in the Cube of the Law. The cube of the law is self-existing. The cosmology of time shows the cosmology of space to be in defiance of the laws of time. The cosmology of space, in defiance of time, is violent and chaotic without any determining intelligence, as in the flat universe. The laws of time demonstrate that the solar system, galaxy, and the entire universe are the manifestation of a telepathic order of being. The telepathic order of being systematizes fields of atomic structure by the ordering power of time. Space is the regenerative container of the permutations of telepathy, time, and atomic structure. The intense interaction of telepathy and atomic structure in the planetary orbital cycles of a star system establish fields of consciousness which register the intelligence interactions of telepathy and atomic structure according to stages of atomic evolution, spiritual involution, and mental flowering. The purpose of a planet is to hold its orbit in relation to the orbits of other planets and altogether to the sun or stellar unit in an evolving star system. The capacity of a planet to hold its orbit is a function of the intelligence consummated in the planet. I'll read that again. This is very important for now. The capacity of a planet to hold its orbit is a function of the intelligence consummated in the planet. As holder of different functions of intelligence, the planet orbits harmonize the stellar intelligence in its patterns of galactic exchange. Okay, that was another little section from some of the earliest writings from the first 4 weeks of decoding the telectonon. So you can see that this was, for myself, that was a very vast process. You probably would need to read that several times to really begin to understand what all of that is saying. But there were, in other words, there were different levels that were occurring. There was the prophetic level, which connected the telectonon to the core of the Earth, and the transmissions of the telectonon coming from stellar or planetary points outside of the Earth that then enter the Earth through the poles and are stored in the core of the Earth, and then at appropriate moments are transmitted, and according to a precise timing system, to sensory points of intelligence on the surface of the Earth, the biosphere of the Earth. There is the level of, and that connects then with the levels of what we might call known prophecy, such as St. John of Patmos, who in the book of Revelation, such as Quetzalcoatl, such as Muhammad, and such as Padmasambhava. Then there was also then what we might call the sheer cosmological level, which has to do with the cube of the law. We had created the cube for the dream spell, and this is a key part of the cube. All the 4 color relations that are contained in the dream spell, you will find, let's see, yeah, there we go, this is the top. All the color relations are found on all the 4 sides. For instance, the blue and white on this side, and the red and yellow on this side describe occult relations. The front and the back, the blue and the yellow, and the red and the white describe the analog relations. And on the top, the yellow and the white, and on the bottom, the blue and the red describe the antipode relations. This was the last part of the dream spell that came through. I woke up, of course, at 4 in the morning. I said I got it, and did the cube and figured out the relations so that you can see all the color relations and how they form the cube. And then the cube, when you put it at certain angle then creates the optical illusion of different tetrahedra, okay, which you can see. Inside of the cube is the time atom, which again describes all the different relations. I had understood that much of the cube, but then with the prophecy telectonon, then I understood how the three planes actually exist within the cube to hold the cubic structure together. These then is the three planes: the plane of mind, okay, the plane which establishes the power of time, the plane of spirit, which establishes the power of telepathy, the plane of will, which establishes the ordering power of atomic structure. That these three are met at a point, they all intersect, which is called the divine intersection, and which is the divine intersection telektonon, okay, which is the divine source that is at the central point, and that divine source is actually the seventh factor of the cube. You have the 6 sides of the cube, and then the seventh factor as the point that holds the three planes that within the cube that create the cube, that hold those three planes together. That is the seventh point. So, for instance, yesterday in the reading from the prophecy, which was the heptagonon of mind, that's what is meant by the heptagonon of mind. The heptagonon of mind refers to the 6 sides of the cube and the seventh point, the center, that holds the cube together. That is the heptagonon of mind. That is a primary mental structure that is actually the evolved structure of what is referred to as the primal cubic parton. And the primal cubic parton is the cubic structure that is constructed of the 7 radial plasmas, which are also known as the 7 seals of prophecy. That primary, the radial plasmas are the primary electrical forces that establish the existence of the universe, and their first, what you might call congelation, takes the form of what is called the primal cubic parton, which again is a cubic structure, 6 plasmas on the outside, and then a 7th plasma in the center. This also evolved into the basis of what is called the 7777. So that's a very, very key point. Those were all levels that were coming to me very clearly when I began to decode the prophecy of Valum Votan and the telectonon, and also which placed me in a position of realizing that something rather extraordinary was occurring, not just in the decoding, but extraordinary process was occurring within the structure of my own being, that this was being revealed because I had been coded with this timing and this information to have this occur at this particular moment in time. And it was at this point here where, as I said, I had to revise my opinions of what was possible as a human being, revise my opinions about myself as a human being, and further leave what we might call the third dimensional physical plane existence and all of the mundane concerns that can absorb you in the physical third dimensional plane of existence. This was an obviously absolutely choiceless process. It's not like you say, wow, that sounds like fun. I'll do that. It's not like that. It's like someone slapping you in the face. And every slap that occurs is an imprint of information. And you don't have any choice but to deal with that information. So I realized that all I could do was try to be as absolutely faithful to every imprint from every slap in the face that I received, and try to put this down, because I knew that this was something that was so important and so true that it didn't matter at all who I was as any kind of being in this third dimensional physical plane. That's why I said the other day, I've realized I'm really a nobody from nowhere, and when I say that, I'm speaking from the point of view of my third dimensional self. The only piece of identity I carry with me, which is the only way I can do my mission, is a U.S. passport that was issued to me in Santiago, Chile in 1994. I don't have any other identification, and I don't believe in that identification. Those are just arbitrary forms that you're given at birth, and you can identify with it, and it can solidify your ego, or you can do whatever you want with it. But I didn't have any choice but to throw that in the wastebasket so that I could completely devote my consciousness and my intelligence to decoding the information that I was decoding. This is a very constant process, especially for that first 6, 7 moons. It was like someone was not only slapping me in the face, but picking me up by the hair and slapping me in the face to accomplish this task. And from that point, it has been a series of processes like that of decoding this information. So when you deal with this information, I'm telling you this, when you deal with this information and you share it with other people, I just want you to keep that in mind, okay? This did not come lightly. I paid a lot of my life to do it. In 1994, after living for 65 days in Ocotitlan in what was nothing but a redone carport with a little bed and a mattress in it, decoding the prophecy and writing the prophecy, I was finally able to go to a slightly more luxurious accommodation, and I was able to begin my practice of yoga again. I was so eager to begin the practice of yoga that before I got anywhere with it, I was doing a back bend, and boom, I could feel that little click in my spine. I'd gone too fast, and God said, okay, now I'm going to really put you to the test. And you're going to travel around the planet, and you're going to not be able to walk. That's why this cane is with me. I got to Venezuela, and someone had already made this cane for me and said, they knew I was coming and said, here, this is for you. I really needed that cane, and I still need it, because for the next year and a half, I was traveling around the planet, barely able to walk and in very great pain, but that didn't bother me, as Bolo Nick will attest, because I knew that the mission I had to complete was way more important than any kind of physical suffering. So I just went through that, and I'm just sharing that with you because you have to know these things. This is not, like stuff that you just dream about lightly, okay? This is the truth coming through a human being, and this is a truth which has to do with the whole existence of this planet, with the future evolution of the biosphere, with the future possible existence of your species, of our children and of our grandchildren. So it was very clear to me that I was in the process of embodying something that was what most people might call was supernatural, or something from another dimension, or something that was beyond me. So in telling you that, it's very easy, for me to understand and see how it was. As I said, I wake up and I think about it, and I say, well, I got here at 7 years later, and we're still walking and we're still alive, but it's a very, I look at myself in the mirror and I think about these things and say, well, it's been quite a trip. I mean, it's been really, really quite a trip to do all this and to be a messenger, okay, which, as I said, there's no school you go to for that. You're actually coded, you're born to that. And I'm not any different than anyone else. I have to go to the bathroom. I have I love my coffee, lots of other things, you know. It says in the Quran that all the messengers, Jesus and his mother Mary, they ate food. They walked in the marketplace, okay? And so we eat food and we walk in the marketplace. We're just human beings. If God sent you an angel to give you a message, it would be, you wouldn't believe it, or it wouldn't affect you really. You can only get a message from another human being. Okay? And that's the whole point in the experimental zone in Velatropa, that the messages come through human beings, and nobody knows who God selects to be a messenger. It's always like, wow, how come that person's a messenger? How did that happen? You know, he doesn't have anything. You know, he just has a PhD in art history? How can he talk about this stuff? You know, it's way beyond anything that we call reason. It's way beyond anything that you can predict. It's way beyond anything you can plan. But I know that from the time that I began to receive this, I saw, well, I got 7 years where I'm just going to travel with this message. That's all I can do. I don't really have a life apart from this. I stopped reading books altogether, especially during the earlier phase of this. There was just nothing to do with that. It had nothing, because my concentration and my focus was so intense on making sure that I got this information clear and straight, that I wasn't interested in anyone else's ideas. I didn't care whether someone thought that this was like Carlos Castaneda or not, because that really isn't the point. It was like this had to be delivered. And this is all true. Like I said, I'd say, oh, no, this is true. This is from Palenque. This is from the tomb of Valum Votan. This is a stellar message. And so these are some of I had to decode the tomb. This is what some of that looks like. I saw that there was interior geometries to this whole process. I saw that around the side of the tomb that there were 9 signs on each side, and those signs had to do with the description of Valum Votan's interplanetary voyage, and that and included the relationships of different planets to each other, and included the recurring sign of what is called the shaman, the spirit of the north, and also that on the 3 figures above that you have are identified, and I knew immediately were Buddha, Muhammad, and Christ, and the 3 figures on the bottom were Padmasambhava, Quetzalcoatl, and St. John of Patmos, and that this was, when I began to see this, it was like I could see all the telepathic trajectories that were placed in the underlying structure of the symbolism of this tomb, and it was those telepathic trajectories of structure that actually were awakened in me. They would say, well, this is something, as I said in the description of the hidden teachings, terma, that the terma can be in signs in a tomb, hidden in the earth. It's very interesting that when the Tibetan descriptions of terma, it's very often something that's hidden in the earth. And this is certainly something hidden in the earth. It was hidden in the earth for 1,260 years, and then another 40 years before the information was unlocked in my being. And the Teratong, the finder, always is known by the concealer of the teachings. So this means that my presence, my existence, was known by Valum Votan, that it was known that I would appear and I would be there to decode this, because this was a prophecy. They knew, the Maya knew, that after the end of the 10th Baktun in 830 AD, that was the closeout of the mission. They knew at the end of the 9 hells, at the end of the 13 heavens in 1519, that the Spanish conquest would come and wipe them out. They knew that at the beginning of the 9th hell in 1935, which would end in 1987, they knew at that point that the person who was going to read and decipher and decode this prophecy was going to be born. And they knew that that person was going to know the meaning of 1987 and the harmonic convergence and the 13 heavens and the 9 hells. And they knew that that person was going to, 40 years after the tomb was opened, was going to be prepared to then decode the prophecy. And they knew that that person would be the one who knew that the Chilam Balam prophecy provided the correct synchronization date of July 26th, because if he had not followed the Chilam Balam prophecy and that focused on the synchronization date of July 26th, it never would have been Kin 144 on July 26th. So the dream spell is the fulfillment of prophecy, it's the fulfillment of the Chilam Balam prophecy. The July 26th date is a prophetic date. Without that date and without the Chilam Balam tradition, that Kin 144 would never have happened on that July 26th of 1993. But all that, as I said, all of this has been written and recorded in a book. We're here, everyone sitting here is filling their slot. I'm filling my slot, you're filling your slot. You're here, you chose to come here. You don't know why you chose to come here. Some of you thought you were coming here for one reason, and some of you thought you were coming here for another reason. But you're here, whether you like it or not, you're here. And I'm dumping this on you. And now you're carrying this with me. It doesn't matter how many of us there are here, because if we create a coherent field of consciousness and mind and spirit and heart with this group, then we are doing our part to fulfill the prophecy. The 13 Moon Calendar Change Peace Movement is a prophetic movement. It was born of prophecy. It was preordained to be that way. And we are all preordained to be sitting here at this moment with this information. So this is how all of this actually works. So now we are in this field. We have created and we are creating this mind field at this very moment. And we are creating this collective experience at this moment. Right? And this collective experience is going to be the conclusion to the 7 years of prophecy, because this is what was preordained. It said that on the first week of the 4th quarter of the 7th year of prophecy, this is to conclude. This is to conclude in the place called North America, Americua. In this continent, in this land, in this place, that it was to conclude here, and that our mind field will connect with the mind field in Russia. Our mind field will connect with the mind field in Western Europe, in Germany, in Italy, in Great Britain. Our mind field will connect with the mind field in Japan. Our mind field will connect with mind fields in Brazil, in Latin America, in Chile, in Peru, in Mexico. And this will complete this cycle. It says that if we can complete this, the whole point of this prophecy is to understand one thing, that we are to return to natural time. The return to natural time will restore our telepathy, and that the restoration of our telepathy will actually be the triggering of what is called the noosphere, the sphere of mind of the earth, and that this is the fulfillment of the evolution of the biosphere. Prophecy is natural law. It isn't, it's revelation, it's natural law. Prophecy exists because this is the experimental zone, because we are deviants, and that we have been allowed to be deviant. We've been allowed to be delinquent. We've been allowed to have the choice to follow our ego instead of aligning our will with the divine plan. And because of that, we have prophecy, and prophecy corrects the distortion of ego. Prophecy corrects what the snares that Satan has lain through history for human beings to deviate. And the greatest snare, the greatest illusion, the greatest is artificial time, Rolex, and among other names, and the Gregorian calendar. And these are the snares. And prophecy is natural law. It says, no, that's an illusion. That's a bad illusion. It's an illusion that's marching you right down into self-destruction. It's an illusion that's marching you right off the face of the earth. It's an illusion that's marching you into the flattest universe you can imagine. No higher dimension, nothing. Entropy forever. That's the illusion. And prophecy comes to say, no, you don't have to follow that illusion. The source of that illusion is that you have deviated from natural time. You've incorporated the deviation from natural time into something you call global civilization. And that is going to lead you nowhere. You have the opportunity by hearing this prophecy of making a choice. And it doesn't matter if you sit there and say, oh my God, will this ever really happen? Well, how can a calendar really change anything? What if the UN doesn't go for it? Everywhere we go, the doubters come and say, well, what scientists support you? What does the UN say about it? What world leaders are with you? We, the people, exist independent of every single institution on earth. We don't need anything to affirm what we are doing. If we have gone to the United Nations, and we have gone to the Vatican, and we have gone to different leaders, it is because it is our responsibility to inform everybody. The purpose of informing everybody is because once we have informed them, then it's on their soul. If they can't make the choice and they're so beleaguered in their own institution, in their own mental conception of what reality is, then that is where they are. But this prophecy is real, and it has prevailed for 7 years. It is a historical and post-historical reality. People everywhere are following this. This is a movement. A movement is a wave in time. It is a wave in time of a truth that no one in this country, no journalist dares write about. Because it is so true. And it is a wave that will continue, because it is the wave of truth. When truth arrives, falsehood perishes. the wave will get such strength that it will take falsehood and smash its brains upon its own asphalt. When we finished the prophecy in Mexico in 1994, early in 1994, and began to travel with the message through South America, first going to Brazil, then to Chile. Later on we came back, went to other countries. We went to Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, eventually to Costa Rica. But when we after the first year, when we came to be the second year of prophecy, we knew, okay, well, we knew that we had to start the peace movement, and we also knew that we had to make the Telechtonon prophecy accessible to other human beings. And so in this way was born the Telechtonon, the game of prophecy, the Telechtonon of Valum Votan. It says the real-time game of prophecy that could save your planet. And that with this game, we first created this in Colombia. It was done outside of Medellin, Colombia, in the fall of 1994, in the second year of prophecy. And we were on a little estate outside of Medellin, and we created the cards and the whole game and everything, and we left it with a person in Colombia, a lady, Ana Maria Sus, who said that she would produce the game for us. As it turned out, she was a saboteur, and we found out that we were, of course, in Latin America. There is what is referred to as the Opus Dei, which is the Vatican's version of the CIA, which operates strongly in Latin America. And we realized that by the time we got to Venezuela from Colombia, after leaving the original prototype of the Telechtonon game in Medellin, that we were definitely in very tricky waters, and we were and at this point my back was very bad, and we managed to get out of Venezuela and down to Argentina, and in Argentina we realized that the person in Colombia who we left the game with was not going to produce it. We realized that she was connected with other people in Venezuela who we knew were operating against us, and so finally we arrived in Chile again with no hope of seeing the original prototype, and then in Chile early in 1995, up in the Elqui Valley, very beautiful part of Chile, we were able to have a little retreat space, and over a 10-day period or so we recreated the whole game. We did the whole board and the cards, and then we entrusted that to some of our Chilean kin who helped us then make up a good prototype of it. Then finally in the summer of 1995 we were able to spend some time in Hong Kong at the Interlink studios, at the production studios of Interlink in Hong Kong, and then we're able to produce the Telechtonon with the Telechtonon game, again with the help of Randy Bruner, who helped put the material up on the computer and helped design the overall look of the game. The Telechtonon says Telechtonon, 13 moons, 28 days, universal telepathy, prophecy of time, earth spirit, speaking tube, time of prophecy. The Telechtonon it says Telektonon is revelation. It is revelation that the 13-moon calendar is the path of human realization, the return of collective mind, will, and spirit, the triumph of universal telepathy. So the Telektonon Earth Spirit Speaking Tube is the revelation that 28 days, 13 moons is the common circuit for all humanity to return to its true order and harmony with all of nature. Telektonon is the revelation of time and all its laws. Telektonon is the new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it. Revelations chapter 2, verse 17. That is Telektonon, the new name written, which no man knoweth, saving he that receiveth it. Before the Telektonon was received and decoded, that word had not been uttered or pronounced on this earth. And once it had been uttered and pronounced, it fulfilled this prophecy of the book of Revelations. Telektonon is the prophecy of time, and it is the time of prophecy. 7 years, 7 rings, 7 generations for all of humanity to enter the sacred victory march to redeem earth and attain the peace that does not end. So this was some of the basic statement of the Telektonon. This was from the Telektonon poster. And when we talk about the Telektonon, we should say that what are we dealing with when we're dealing with the Telektonon? Which I know a lot of you know this, and this is, have seen this, let's put it that way, and a lot of you actually use this. This is the Telektonon playing board, and this playing board was actually derived from the very first, there we go, no, not there, here we are. From the first plan of the victory map of the war of the heavens on earth, okay, that the Telektonon board was derived from this particular decoding here and then refined to become the Telektonon playing board. The Telektonon playing board is actually the fourth dimensional map of the solar system. Okay, when you're looking at that, what you see again is the two flows, right? Here's the galactic karmic flow, and here's the solar prophetic flow. You might remember yesterday when we were looking at the journey board of the dream spell that those flows were there in a pentagonal form. Okay, here the flows are demonstrated in this way. This is the galactic order out here, and this is the sun Kinichahau down here. You have the galactic karmic flow and going to the sun, and the solar prophetic flow going from the sun to the galaxy. And so you have for each of the, here you have the planetary orbits. This is the orbit of Pluto, the orbit of Neptune, and then here is the orbit of Uranus. Okay, the orbit of Saturn, the orbit of Jupiter, and then this forms the upper half of the board, which is the 5 outer planets, the 5 planets that are lined up on Naui Olin. Okay, that's these planets here. Then you have the inner planets, the orbit of Maldek, the orbit of Mars, the orbit of Earth, and you see Earth connects with Uranus. That's the Earth. The 28-day cycle itself is the Earth Spirit Speaking Tube. It's the tube that connects Earth with Uranus. And then you have the orbit of Venus, and then you have the orbit of Mercury. These planetary orbits actually create what are called 5 circuits, the 5 circuits of consciousness. A consciousness is defined as being a function of the planetary orbits of the star system. In other words, it's the planets and the different relationships they have to each other and to the sun that hold the different qualities of consciousness. What we are as human beings, we're just these little teeny weeny microcosmic specks, molecular, spasms within the biosphere of the earth. I mean, you can't, you really have to always think about this, okay, that where we are right here in Cascadia, so-called state of Oregon in North America, that where we are there, if you look, you can't see us there. Okay, and this is one view, and you can go out even farther as we have in our famous galactic map, and you can't even see the Earth, much less see our star, the Sun. Okay, so you can see how wormy and smarmy the ego is from that point of view. Okay, that's not even happening. Okay, that here we are, and as these little microcosmic spasms of organic molecular substance, okay, that eke out our existence on the face of this earth, of this planet, Velatropa 24.3. That there's 6 billion of these little things, like in some big, Brownian motion, colloidal 1260 gel, okay, trying to figure out what it is, okay, and that. Well, you have to have this perspective, hey, who do you think you are? Someone? Yeah, you're just a passing little filament, okay? Yeah. So, but here we are, nonetheless, okay, we have our little substance, and we're our little flotsam and jetsam there, and here we are, somehow or other we are connected and we are together. We actually form one common tissue. We're like actually, from the galactic point of view, we're actually like a proto-intelligent microbe colony. Proto-intelligent because we don't believe in our connectedness. Rather than being connected, we say, hey, you're crossing my border, you owe me money. That's not even intelligent. That's why I say it's proto-intelligent. We have the potential, but I like this because there's no boundaries here. Like we've said, the wind doesn't need a passport to go from Canada to the United States. And the birds don't need passports to get from South America to North America. Why do we? What's the deal? We're anti-intelligent, believing in borders, holding on to these fictions. That's anti-intelligent. That's the function of that time, remember? Anti-natural, anti-cosmic, creates those states of mind. And then, hey, we actually use guns to defend these lines that don't even exist. Boy, that's not only anti-intelligent, it's stupid. So we have the potential, but we're just proto-intelligent microbe colony on this earth. We think we're the smartest. We think we're the smartest because we build skyscrapers and television towers and send rockets into space. But that's not smart. Beehives are more beautiful. So all that stuff is just to keep us divided. So we don't even trust each other. Even in this room here. Do we really have a circle of unity? Do we have absolute unconditional love and trust of every single one of us in this room? Could we all absolutely melt and dissolve into each other, every single one of us, without thinking, is that person okay? What if he's got cooties? See, we're really down on the scale. But we have the potential. That's what this prophecy is all about. It says, hey, throw off your shackles. Become liberated. Love one another. Get with the program. Don't hold back. Consciousness. Consciousness would like to create a home in us. Like I said yesterday, we live in the cosmic unconscious. Every so often we get conscious. Blink, like that fish out of water. Blink. Blink. Yeah. Wow, I experienced consciousness. And then we say, it's mine. Who experienced consciousness? Nobody. There's really nobody here. Nobody experienced consciousness. Consciousness almost found a landing pad in this microbe unit, but consciousness won't hold in one individual. Consciousness only holds in the whole. That's why none of us are really conscious, because we're not whole, we're not unified. So the only way we can unify is in time, through time, as time, says the prophecy. Don't hold back. Spread the message. Let's July 25th, let's all unify in time, as time, through time. Dissolve into time. And then maybe consciousness will begin to find a landing pad in this microbe colony called humanity. Microbes are much smarter than we are. They got their colonies, they got their levels of intelligence. They cooperate. That's how come they're smart. They actually cooperate, those microbes. And the ants, they actually cooperate. They're not fighting each other. They find a big piece of whatever it is to bring back to the ant hive, and they all get together and say, wow, that's so big, let's all carry that together. And then they don't go back there and say, I'm Freddie, I got it first. I'm gonna put a trademark on that blade of grass. Don't you go nuts when you get these pieces of mail and someone's come up with some silly name and every time you read it, it says TM? I thought TM meant transcendental meditation. No, consciousness is a function of the orbits of the planets. Consciousness is what we call solar consciousness. Is actually stellar consciousness. That we're evolving towards solar consciousness, the coming age of solar consciousness. That means that we get to the point where we have universal telepathy and we don't have the borders and we don't have the boundaries and we trust each other and we realize that we are one huge, ever-loving human microbe colony, and then we get consciousness, solar consciousness. That's the coming age, so it is said. That's why we're supposed to get what we're supposed to get when we get to 2012, 2013. We get to 2012, and we get to 2012, and we at least are on the right time. Then we will stabilize the planet. And then after that, we get to 2013, and then we get to galactic synchronization and the big zap. Hey, whew, solar consciousness. We are one. Everyone says, we're one. We are one. We are one. Everyone says that. How many of us really feel it? How often are you really experiencing the oneness with all humanity? Oh, it's okay, but I don't know about that guy over there. His religion is different. Did you read the Quran from cover to cover? Did you read the Rig Veda? Did you read the Popol Vuh? Did you read the whole Old Testament and the whole New Testament? Don't make any decisions about anyone else until you read all of those. Or don't read any of them at all. Consciousness is a function of the interplanetary orbits. The 5 circuits of consciousness that are mapped out on the telectanon board connect the planetary orbits. The circuit of consciousness that connects the Pluto and Mercury is referred to as the solar galactic meta-consciousness circuit, because it's the circuit that's closest to the sun and closest to the galactic field. And that's the field of meta-consciousness. That is held in that orbit. That's this circuit right here. The next circuit, which is held by Neptune and Venus, that's called the Allied Memory Instinct circuit of consciousness. Because we have memory and telepathy and instinct. The lower part, the 5 planets in closest to the sun hold the field of instinct, which is a biological function, which is telepathy incarnate in biological form. And the 5 outer planets hold telepathy, which is instinct disincarnate, without not needing a biological form. So that's the Allied Memory Instinct circuit, because the memory is all inside of us. We already have it. It's coded in us, but we don't know it. We don't remember it. Our parents didn't believe it. We went to school, and by the time we were 5 years old or 6 years old, none of us hardly remembered anything except for what we were told to remember. My country, 'tis of thee. Get a job. Fight for your rights. Oh, we're trying to get out of that, but we're not very far. I wouldn't anyone here be proud of anything. Anything. Because we're not really unified. The 3rd circuit, which is the key circuit that connects our Earth with Uranus, is referred to as the biotelepathic circuit. The purpose of the 28-day cycle, 13 moons, is to reconnect the biotelepathic circuit so Earth is reconnected with its electromagnetic twin, Uranus. The circuit of the 28 days that connects these, each of these also has a set number. The meta-consciousness circuit is 36. The Allied Memory Instinct circuit is 32. The biotelepathic circuit number is 28. 4 times 7. 4 is to 7 is 7 is to 13, 28, 13 times. Okay. So you see that it goes from 1 to 12, and this also defines the 3rd dimension. And then it goes from 13 up here to through 16, and then here you have 17 through 28. 17, 28, 1,728 is 12 cubed. 1728. This is the number of the cubing of the cube. That's heaven. That's the Uranus circuit. The Earth circuit is 1 through 12. That's the prison. That's what creates the flat land and the flat universe. Because we are trapped in the calendar of 12. We are trapped in the clock, which is the power of 12. And that says you go from here to here, and then boom, back here again to here. If you poke your head up there, boom. There's a lot of martyrs in history who poked their head up above this circuit and went to 13, or said, let's explore the cube of the law. They got their books burned, they got their heads shot off, they were burned at the stake. No, you stay in the flatland ruled by 12. Then we'll pay you to stay there. And we'll make it really good. We'll give you a lot of money. You'll never want to leave there. That's the 12. Going from the 12, the telectonon shows us, no, the 28-day circuit is really the reestablishment of this connection, where we're allowed to go from the 13 up through the 16, the 13, the forbidden, the taboo number, so superstitious that apartment buildings in New York have the 12th floor and the 14th floor because someone's too scared to live on the 13th floor. They have 12A and then 14. Are we crazy? The forbidden, the taboo, we'll just skip that, cut that one out. That is exactly, that's the stairway to heaven. Okay, and yes, it has to do with the Led Zeppelin. That's what they were singing about. In fact, a lot of those songs have to do with all of this missing, forgotten, lost planets. That's the biotelepathic circuit. Between these two, the reason why these aren't connected, the reason why we're trapped in the flatland of 12 is because this, in the galactic karmic flow, this is the Tower of Babel. Babylon planet is the name of the place where you are right now. Babylon planet consists of the power of the two super planets, Saturn, which is G7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Galactic karmic, G7, group of 7. Tower of Babel, control the mind of the planet through death, fear. If you don't have a job, you will die. If you don't buy insurance, you're going to blow it. If you don't have $400, you can't get into our emergency room. If you don't have insurance, you can't get into our emergency room. You will bleed to death on the street. G7. Death, fear. That's this circuit right here that connects Saturn to Mars. And that's what the powers use. Death, fear. This is actually the externalizing intelligence circuit. The capacity of intelligence to externalize inner perceptions. And then the inner circuit, the fifth circuit, is the circuit that connects Jupiter to the destroyed planet Maldek. This is the fifth circuit, is the internalizing intelligence circuit, the power of intelligence to take perceptions and internalize it into intelligence. Okay? The Maldek circuit here represents sexuality, and therefore the power, there are two powers that are used, that's sexual taboo and death fear, to keep the human species in this circuit here. It's exploited in all sorts of different ways. War and pornography. And that's the sum of it. Those are the limits of it. We think that this is civilization. Well, only frosting. Beneath the frosting, it's a seething hell. The prophecy is to point this out. And the game of prophecy is to show how every single day we can actually be dealing with these forces to reestablish the circuits of consciousness and reconnect ourselves through the 28-day circuit to Uranus, which is heaven on earth. You put that down. I know your arms, she's very good. She was a dancer. This is very true. Why don't you just lay it out, though? Yeah, okay. And put the as you know, this is played with 13 moving pieces, which are played every day, and that are moved every day. We describe this as a slow-moving game of chess. And as was indicated in the one reading I gave, that all of this has come about because there was such a creature as Bolonic and such a creature as Valum Votan, which were forms of Mayan intelligence that existed before the cycle of history. When you go to Palenque, Palenque is full of references to Bolonic. And in fact, last year, the throne was discovered, which commemorates Bolonic. Bolonic is the mother of the Palenque dynasty. Bolonic was the patroness of the avatars of Palenque. Bolonic existed at the beginning of the long count. Bolonic is recorded as even before the long count. Bolonic was recorded at 8000 BC. This is an avataric emanation that we are dealing with. This is an avataric emanation who is placing these pyramids and turtles and stones on this board. It was this avataric emanation that discovered the person that's talking to you right now. If she hadn't come along to make this connection, that was the final point, the beginning point of my full awakening. Because of Bolonic. When that happened, I was 42. It was the day Red Magnetic Dragon. And everything began to open up. All the suffering that I had experienced previous to that moment became clarified. And before 1 year of time had elapsed, I had remembered enough about Arcturus to know that we were in Velatropa, the experimental zone. And because of her, all of the awakenings that I have experienced have been able to occur. In the Tibetan tradition of the Teratons, it is said just about in every single case that a Teraton can only fulfill his mission because of a female partner. And it's a female partner that inspires the Teraton to awaken to the memory of the codes that have been placed in him. So this Telectanon playing board utilizes the two turtles. Show them the turtles, cute little turtles. The yellow turtle is Valum Votan because that's yellow galactic sun, and I know we also have Valum Votan sitting in this room with us. I won't embarrass her and make her stand up. She knows who she is. And the white turtle, of course, is Bolonic, white solar wind. The fact that her galactic signature was Bolonic, white solar wind, was a key factor in the understanding, and also, as we've repeated this story before, the fact that she came to me 22 days after we had our first real, first zapping encounter, let's say, that 22 days later, on Valentine's Day, she showed up with red flowers for me. And then when we were able to decode and got the dream spell together, we went back and said, well, what was that day, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1981? It was Bolognic, white solar wind, kin 22. Everything is already written in a book. Don't think you're so hot. That means that you have something to fulfill that you've probably been avoiding. We all have something to fulfill that we've been avoiding, but we all have the choice. We can believe, we can disbelieve, or we can pretend we believe and be a hypocrite. Truth comes to make these lines clear. It's a spiritual test. The two turtles, so today is the 24th day, so the two turtles have begun their heaven walk. Heaven walk is between the days 24 and 27. The spirit tower is on day 28, which is when the red cosmic skywalker will occur, and we will complete the telectonon journey of the planetary moon, which will be the 10th telectonon journey of this year, and let's see, about the 88th or 89th telectonon journey of the 7 years of prophecy. There's, I believe, 91 moons in the 7 years of prophecy, so that means that, let's see, cosmic moon will be the 91st, crystal moon will be the 90th, spectrum. This is the 88th moon. This is the 88th telectonon journey that we knew about this when we decoded the telectonon, and so we were taking this journey even before we did this game. So this is the 88th moon of the 7 years of prophecy, which we will be completing when we complete this particular seminary. Yes.
I felt I should speak a little bit because of this mystery. So in terms of what you have here with the whole telectonon, I wanted to share with you what my life has felt like in unraveling this mystery, because I'm incredibly dyslexic. I couldn't even lay the board out correctly up here. I'm doing it in front of all of you, and I realized I could hardly remember the date. And I share that with you because I was given this gift that I cannot remember facts in this way. And I say it was a gift because from the time of my childhood, I knew that I had this profound energy that could never be contained in anything that I met. And so this is a reminder that we don't always know what our path is going to be, but we have to learn to surrender to who we are. And I was gifted with so much love in my being that my mother always told me, and by the way, my mother's name is Maya, that I came in smiling, and I had tremendous positive energy. And to this day, people get annoyed with me sometimes because generally I'm very happy. But then I also, got to develop a lot of ego problems after I met this man, because, even to the point of going to the throne in Palenque and discovering that there really was a throne of Bolognic, I had to surrender even more to the mystery to know that it has absolutely nothing to do with that personality that I developed with the name Lloydine. It absolutely nothing, in the essence of it, because it was the great mystery always. So I'm always profoundly moved to say that this process of playing the telectonon board is the way for us to establish the synchronic order every morning, and that these tools were given so we could understand that it's for each of us to try to wake up our memory circuit. And this board literally wakes up your memory circuit. Now at the top of the board, the two turtle backs, the turtle holds the 13 scales or the shells on its back. And so on the top, you have the fourth dimensional circuit because you have the 20 solar seals on the outside, and in the inside you have the 13 tones. So you have your 1320 time up here, and then you have your coordination into the third dimension, into the Telectanon circuit, because you have the 28 days on the outside and you have the 13 moons on the inside. So you have the white, you always use the white token on the scale of the turtle, on the 13, either the 13 tones or the 13 moons, and you use the black marker for your 20 solar seals or for your 28-day circuit. And then every day as your destiny kin moves, it just moves simply day by day. So if you've never done this before and you get it selected on, you have to just start with the day it is. This is the key to everything about the codes of the law of time, is that you always start from the present moment. So we are all equal in the present moment. There is no such thing as an advanced course in the law of time, because the law of time is in the present moment. So as you learn to play, you place the green destiny kin always on the code number, and you learned from this morning it was kin 9, it was code number 9 for the moon. So you put the green destiny kin there, and then right across from it is always its planetary partner, and as we had described earlier, that always adds up to 19. Directly across with a difference of 10 is the antipode, and then you have the occult, which makes always a sum of 21, and then you have the guide, and you know that from your galactic compass. The guide for today was life force, which is the serpent. And then the central, your green turtle is the warrior who takes the journey in the cube. And I remember the moment when we took our first warrior cube journey after the board had been created. And it's an excitement. So, one of the goals is, the worst sin that we can commit, in a sense, is to sit on top of these tools and not get them out to people and share with everyone. So it's amazing because, I've often wondered, I kept saying these things keep having to be manifested in the third dimension. And so then, of course, every time the challenge comes up, as you spoke of this morning, that the Galactic Federation said these are meant to be a gift. Well, the only way these can be a gift is if we learn to cooperate with each other and pool our resources and work together to get all of these gifts moving out into the world. So all of this was to conclude with the recharge crystal, which I read about it happened to be stated in this morning's reading in the 9.9, synchronic order. Just happens to be the day we were presenting the Telectanon. There was the statement about the recharge crystal, which is so important for this moment of the circumpolar rainbow bridge. So your recharge crystal moves each day over the 019 code. Today it's in the code number 9 position. So the board is laid out each day. And yes, you have to make space. It's kind of big, but you know what? You make a space because then you do it every day. You walk by it, and if you see it a few days in the wrong place, you go, oops, I really haven't been too conscious. How many days just went by? Maybe it's been 3 days. Doesn't matter. You go to your board and you fix it. And then you have a chance to start again. So constantly we are reminded, start in the present moment. Start right now. Start with the board. Here we are at this moment. So everything is simplified. Everything is simplified in the law of time. We don't understand how complex our minds have become in the 1260 world. It's phenomenally confused. And so if you stay with the synchronic order, you begin to simplify your mind. And you simplify your mind by holding the codes of the law of time on all these different levels. So it's actually a process of simplification, and it's very, very immediate. The reason these tools are here is so you have hands-on. You actually can see the colors here. You can actually work with the tools. It gives you the opportunity to become as a child again so that you can enter the kingdom of heaven.
The purpose of having there's 13 different moving parts. Okay? The white and the black stones refer, and the turtles there, that's referred to as the chronometer. That's the movement of time. This is, and you can see the movement of time, as Bo and Nick pointed out, the fourth dimensional time in the upper turtle, and the cyclical biotelepathic time in the lower turtle. And you can see how that changes and moves every day. The other 9 pieces, the 5 pyramids, the 3 turtles, and the crystal, there's 13 moving pieces in all. Those describe what's called the synchronometric order and the understanding of the telepathic order of synchronometry. In other words, what you're looking at is the measure of synchronicity, that's synchronometric, measure of synchronicity that occurs every day and how it changes from day to day. For instance, today, because we have the green pyramid on the position of the moon, which is the solar prophetic Mercury, which is the omega point of the solar prophetic flow, okay, the purification omega point, that therefore we have also the analog, the white crystal then is in the white position. The analog is also in that circuit. We're in the meta consciousness circuit, and also the antipode, the blue pyramid. So we have three pyramids on the fifth circuit, the meta consciousness circuit, the outermost circuit. And so that defines level that we are to tune into when we contemplate this. What does that mean? Okay, no one can tell you what that means. You have to look at that, you have to contemplate that, you have to feel that. And then we have the two turtles as well as the yellow pyramid are on the third dimensional biotelepathic circuit, the cyclic circuit of the 28 days. The yellow pyramid is on the human position, which is one of the transfer points. That's the free will transfer point where you also enter the cube. So you always have an activation of the biotelepathic circuit because the yellow turtle and the white turtle are always on that circuit. During the 16 days in the cube, from days 7 to 22, the white turtle, the Bolonic turtle, is always in her navigation tower, which is on that circuit. So she holds that position and meditates on behalf of the green warrior turtle who is taking the cube journey. So you always have at least two positions on that biotelepathic circuit, which is the circuit really that we're activating through following the 13 moon calendar. So today also we have a third one, which is the yellow pyramid. So we have 3 points of activation in the meta-consciousness circuit. We have 3 points of activation in the biotelepathic circuit. So we're to be connecting our biotelepathic intelligence with our capacity for meta-consciousness, which is also referred to as the alpha-omega recharge circuit. The beginning and end are being recharged in us today. We have 2 omega points, the storm and the moon, and 1 alpha point, which is the dog. So that's being recharged in us, and it's being activated with the 3 points on the biotelepathic circuit. Then we have the red pyramid, and also the crystal, the recharge crystal. They're also on different circuits. The recharge crystal, because it's over on the farthest point of the recharge battery, which is basically your 019 code, that's actually in the externalizing intelligence circuit. So we have 1 point on the externalizing intelligence circuit, and we have the red pyramid, which is the guide, which is on the serpent position, the destroyed planet galactic karmic Maldek, okay, which is on the internalizing intelligence circuit. So we have 1 point on the internalizing intelligence circuit, which is the sexuality. We have 1 point on the externalizing circuit, which is the recharge battery in the moon position, right? Which then that goes back and connects with the green pyramid, which is on the meta consciousness alpha omega recharge circuit. So you have to look at that. That's putting all that together and seeing that as a whole pattern is what's called the synchronometric meditation. This is a new level, and this is what's meant by we are evolving our mind and our spirit and into a capacity to receive consciousness. Right now, it looks like it's just a method. You do it every day, but that's the only way it begins to imprint. That's the only way you learn. That's the only way the learning comes into you, and you begin to see how the pattern changes from day to day. To understand and see the pattern changing from day to day is baby steps in developing continuing consciousness. Because that way then we see that the synchronometric pattern, how it moves and changes. During the time of the heaven walk, from days 20, or actually from days 23 to 28, and also from the beginning of the earth walk, which occurs on the first 6 days of every moon, from days 1 through 6, the green turtle is on vacation. He is at the divine source. He's getting himself replenished. He's right in the middle of keep him right in the middle of that cube. You can have him pointing at where the turtles are moving, but he's recharging at the divine source Telektonon, because then when you get to the 7th day, then the green turtle then begins the journey again and goes through the 16 positions of the cube. So all of that, those 9 pieces, the 4 pieces on the 2 turtles on the side with the white and the black stones, that's the chronometer, the chronometer. You're following the movement of time at a daily level. That's what replaces the clock. Okay, and the other 9 pieces, the 5 pyramids, the 3 turtles, and the recharge, all of that creates a daily, a changing constellation every day, which is called the synchronometric pattern, measure of synchronicity, because all those planetary circuits are being activated that day, and it's a method. You start tuning into that, and you have to make the effort. Okay, it's not going to walk out to you and say, "Hi, I'm meta-consciousness." You have to make the effort and say, that's the meta-consciousness circuit. That's the biotelepathic circuit. That's the internalizing intelligence circuit. That's the externalizing intelligence circuit. Okay? And then you begin to see the connections, what connections there are between them. I've got one more thing, is that then that, of course, then is also done with the cards. The cards are placed in the box, which is the tomb itself. And around the tomb are what are referred to as the 13 clear signs. So you look to every day on your daily kin to see if any one of those signs is there. The whole prophecy is in the 13 clear signs. There's 13 signs, and the tones of those signs are to be especially paid attention to. That because on the south, this represents the southern lid of the tomb, right here, and this is galactic sun and rhythmic mirror, the birth and disincarnation dates of Pakal Votan, and 8 and 6 add up to 14, which is the power of 7, which is half of the 28-day circuit, which is, according to the Essenes, that's the number of either the waxing or the waning moon. Okay. Then on the east side of the tomb lid, there are six signs, one set of 4 and another set of 2. And the 4, the tones add up, 5 and 9, 7 and 7 add up to 28. This is the prophecy of the 28-day calendar. The other 2 and 11 add up to 13. This is the 28-day, 13-moon prophecy of the tomb of Pakal Votan. The power of 7, 14, the 28, and the 13. And then on the northern edge, there's only one sign on the northern edge, and this goes to the mystery of Mars. And that's the lunar world bridger. The world bridger that splits apart. The splitting apart of planet Mars, the mystery of that is inside the tomb of Pakal Votan. The riddle, the solution to the riddle, to the mystery of Mars, the face of Mars. The splitting apart of Mars is in this sign here, the lunar world bridger, which occurs right here on the Tzolk'in grid. And you'll see there's 2 sequences of 10 in the 6th and the 8th columns. This is called alpha sequence, which is the galactic karmic sequence. It begins with that. That's the mystery of Mars that initiates this run of 10 galactic karmic activation portals. Okay, so that's where that occurs right there, and so and that also connects because the other side, right next to it, there's 11 Serpent, which was, I said, among others, was the president Salinas de Gortari, the 10th king of modern Mexico. And the next to it is the lunar human. Okay, the lunar human is right next to the lunar world bridger, because the lunar world bridger is the splitting of Mars. The lunar human is the human that understands the splitting of Mars and follows the 13 moons, hence the lunar human. So then on the west side of the edge of the tomb lid, you again have a set of two and a set of two, and again we're dealing with the power of 7. 3 and 4 are 7, and again right here is 1 and 13, that's 14. This 14 and this 14 on the front create again the 28, which is the 28-day cycle, and then this 14 plus this 7 creates the 21, which is the occult power, which is the hidden power of the tomb. So that's the meaning of the tones and the numbers on the edge, and that was how the decoding and the understanding of the prophecy of the 13-moon calendar was coded into the tomb. Then within the tomb, when you open the tomb lid, you find the prophecy book, which is complete with 126 verses, okay, and that in 19 sections. And number 19 we'll talk about again in a later session. And then inside are the 52 playing cards, okay, which again are a function of 4 is to 7 is 7 is to 13. Okay, you have 7 cards. The 7 cards, which are the oracle cards of the 7 years of prophecy, which are also the 7 radial plasmas. These cards will be used again when we reach the year 2004. The Telectronon board is to be used until you know there are no borders and we are one. It's to be used till we get to 2012, and we made sure that we closed the cycle. So these cards, everything continues to be used, even though the 7 years of prophecy are over as of the day out of time. Just as we redo the 13 Bach tunes, we redo the 7 years all the time, because during the 7 years, one infinitesimal speck of humanity heard about this. So it's a very incomplete time. So we continue to complete the time. So these are the 7, and then when we get to the 7 years of the mystery of the stone, these will become very critical. This is the 7 plasma cards. The heptagon of mind is formed of these cards. That's the 7. The 4 color cards, which represent the 4 weeks and the 4 powers of prophecy. The red card, which represents any red seal, any red solar seal, as well as the first week, the week of knowledge. Knowledge initiates. That's the first week, which is claim power of prophecy. The second week is maintain power of prophecy. That's the white card. Okay, when you claim the power of prophecy, the first 7 days, the second 7 days, you maintain that power of prophecy. Everyone is a prophet. Everyone has the power to withstand the material sensibility and rise to the spiritual comprehension. That's the meaning of maintaining the power of prophecy. The third week, the blue week, and the quality is humility. How you maintain the power of prophecy is by being humble. The third week is the blue week, which is where you proclaim the victory of prophecy. You made it through the first 14 days. The third week, okay, you can proclaim, hey, that you've got the victory of prophecy, and that is the quality of that is through transforming through your power of patience. And then the fourth week, you ripen the power of prophecy because you become the victory of prophecy during the fourth week. That means that you have to, in yourself, it's not just words, but in yourself, know and realize that you are one of the prophets. You are one of those who can withstand the material sensibility and rise to spiritual comprehension and follow this path. So that's the becoming of the victory of prophecy. This whole seminary is during this yellow week. We are here to become the victory of prophecy. This is the conclusion of the 7 years of prophecy. We need to become the victory of prophecy and create that mind field. So that's the 4. 4 is to 7, as 7 is to 13. Then you have the 13 cards, which are on the one side represent the tones, as you see here, and complete all the different pulsar formations of the wave spell that we talked about with the dream spell. And today this is the 9 tone, and you can see that it's the solar tone of intention, that we are in the solar tower of the daily wave spell, that we formalize action and set our action in motion. So there's a command for every single day. And that we'll also see that we're in the 4th dimensional time pulsar today that connects the 1st, the 5th, the 9th, and the 13th positions of the wave spell. And that also that we are on the other side of these cards is the moon, okay? And we are on the 10th moon, the planetary moon, which you can see is this position on the turtle shell, the planetary dog moon, okay? Every moon has an animal associated with it. So those are you have the 7 heptagon of mind oracle cards, you have the 4 color cards for the 4 weeks, and then the 13 cards, which are the moons and tones of the wave spell, and then you have the 28 day cards. 4 times 7 is 28, and all told you have 52 cards, which is 4 times 13. 4 is to 7, and 7 is to 13. The whole mathematical code is in these cards. Today's card is the 24th card, which means that we're in the heaven walk and that we are under the influence of the navigation tower. So those cards are out, and this is the 24th step to the spirit tower of Bo-Onik. So that's the cards. That's basically what you're dealing with this the game of prophecy, that could save your planet.
And never forget to include yourself in all of the readouts to really relate. By the Dream Spell Code, your galactic signature, all your relations, you can relate yourself always to the cosmic level through the Telektanon playing board. And just one last thing, because we started with the divine intersection. We have the plane of will and the plane of spirit. The plane of mind. The plane of mind is the playing board. And the plane of will and the plane of spirit. The plane of will, the plane of spirit, and the plane of will. Okay, so the plane of
the plane of spirit, which goes right across the middle between the Jupiter and Maldek, that divides the board between instinct and telepathy, and then the plane of will, which goes through the center of the cube. Okay, so the plane of spirit, the plane of will are met in the center of the cube. The whole playing board is the plane of mind. The plane of will separates from the pre-conscious field to the subliminal conscious field. Those are the 2 basic fields of consciousness. And you go from the pre-conscious to the unconscious to the conscious, and then you go from the continuing conscious to the superconscious, and then finally to the subliminal conscious. Okay, those are the 6 planes of consciousness that are vertically arranged from the galactic karmic tower through the solar prophetic tower. So this is literally the playing board of the map of consciousness, understood as the function of the different orbits that go around our local star, Velatropa 24, Kenicha How. We're on Velatropa 24.3. Okay, this has been a free Velatropa broadcast transmission. We're going to have a free Velatropa party in 2012, okay? We all work for a free Velatropa party. We'll join the free Velatropa party. Has nothing to do with politics. And work for a free Velatropa, work for universal telepathy, work for no rent, no money, work for it's free. The animals do it and it's free. The biosphere doesn't have a for sale sign on it except for the ones that the humans put there. Okay? Free Velatropa.
And only through cooperation can we